Hello, everybody. Welcome to MindBody TV. I'm Dr. Kim Duramo. I have a very, very special guest today. I'm so excited to share with you Dr. Clint Rogers. I read a book this summer, Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer. One of my friends told me, you have to read this. I devoured the book and you're going to love it. And I thought, all right. I mean, she's someone I really trust. There's not a lot of stuff I read that is resonating like this for me. But as soon as I started reading it, I devoured it. I'm reading it's for the second time now. And it's definitely one of the most profound books I read. And I was really, really excited to connect with Clint because of the amazing work he's doing. So Clint is a PhD doctor who was like a scientist, never had any experience of this kind of profound healing, but ended up crossing paths with an amazing master healer and working with him over a decade, seeing and learning some really, really amazing, unthinkable things, and writing the book, sharing this with others, assisting people in healing from things like serious, severe illness, but even emerging out of a coma, which are things that are not possible in the Western medical mind. And we'll be sharing about the book, Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer, but really just to get to know Clint and connect with him through this broadcast today. So welcome everybody who's here live. I love hearing where you're from, and also to everybody in the podcast or who's listening to the recording. I would love to hear from you too. So welcome to Dr. Clint. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm really excited for you to share with our community.
Thank you, Kim. Such a pleasure, such an honor to be here. And, as you mentioned, the subtitle of the book is A Western Skeptic, an Eastern Master in Life's Greatest Secrets. And I started out so much as a skeptic. I had no concept of what was possible. And so what I'm excited about for those people joining this call now, what if you learn one secret that may end up saving your life or the life of someone you love, or changing your life in such a significant way that you can live either a longer life or a healthier life or a happier life. And what I love about Kim is her enthusiasm, her energy for spreading things that matter. And my guess is you are attracted to her too, because you know that she adds so much value. And I'm excited because I think on today's call, what if you learn one of these ancient secrets that really can transform your whole life, to live vibrant health, unlimited energy, and peace of mind, as Dr. Naram would say.
Well, we have people from all over England, Sweden, Switzerland, another one from Sweden, Toronto. We're both right now in US. Aren't you in LA area right now? Because I know you're usually in India.
Yeah, I came back from being in India for 7 months, and it was so fun to come home and surprise my mom. She gave me like the tightest hug ever. She was so surprised. So it's been fun.
I think we're all glad you're here. So I will keep posting some of these comments that come in or questions that come in so we can address them. But will you just start with, because the interesting thing I think that you'll share is, like, as a skeptic, how you came in and saw these things happen. And I remember how you wrote in the book, like, so this person comes out of a coma and you're like, oh, that must just be placebo. But wait a minute, she's in a coma, so that wouldn't really apply here. And how this really started breaking down that construct of reality that you were in that was kind of like protected. I know what I know and there's nothing more to it. I think that's a journey for so many of us as we start to experience something that goes outside our realm of possibilities that we're taught. For me, I'm not a skeptic. I'm actually purposely open to look for myself of, like, what do I know and what's true for me, and not have conclusions, but expand. And I felt it's my responsibility as a physician to always look under every stone for what else is possible. But I think you bring a really good perspective, because I think a lot of people are protected and skeptical. So what would you say to someone who's looking for a higher possibility, but is protected and is skeptical or afraid to open into, like, I don't know, is this going to let me down? Is this another, like, thing that's just going to not pan out?
Yeah, such a good question, Kim. What do you do when you have that kind of, like, hesitation? You're protecting yourself, and I actually think that's healthy. I actually say, bring your skeptic, bring it, because when you bring your most skeptic part of you, it's just wanting to have evidence or some experience that something is real. And, for me, it's just, I think it's so crazy that I'm now on this journey because when I started this whole journey with this master healer, his name is Dr. Naram. And I remember he told me when I first met him, here's another picture of him that you can see a little bit better. He said that he had a master who lived to be 125 years old. And I have a picture of him right here. So here's him with his master, whose name was Baba Ramdas. I'm like, how did someone live to be 125? Then he said he had another master.
Wouldn't we have heard about this? How come we didn't hear about this?
Exactly. I'm like, this should have been in Guinness Book of World Records, or it should be more obvious. He said his master's master lived to be 145. His master's master lived to be, and they all lived to this long age, this unbroken lineage of master healers that goes back to the original physician for Buddha, whose name was Jivaka. And he said that this lineage, they kept these secrets for thousands of years on these ancient manuscripts. Oh, I think it's upside down. So they recorded these secrets for how do you basically overcome any kind of a chronic or acute health challenge, or how do you live to a long age with lots of vibrant health, unlimited energy, and peace of mind. Now, as a skeptic, hearing that made me curious, but also I felt resistance. Like, it sounds like outside my realm of what's possible even. So I'm just going to put that in the category of my mind that's, how do I even take this person and what they say is credible anymore? But I loved his being. When you're with someone, sometimes you just kind of, your heart opens. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, Kim, where you don't know how to make sense of what they say, but you just feel good in their presence,
Yes. Well, I trained in osteopathic medicine and worked with a lot of really profound, powerful healers who were doing something beyond the physical, mechanical, osteopathic stuff. And when I'd sit and listen, it would this is way early on in my journey, but it would put me into this brain fog of like, what's going on here? And I would feel that what was communicated was way, way, way deeper than the words and the content. And it was like I was receiving a download of these like crazy, massive awakenings. But in that time, it was like I said, a brain fog where I'd get almost like sleepy because it was so fast and so high frequency, like it short-circuited my brain. I couldn't understand it, but I would just remember like, oh, let this in. There's something really profound happening here. And it's when I first began to understand how information gets transmitted. It's a transmission of consciousness, not mind. It's not information. So I think probably a lot of the same thing happened with you. I know Dr. Naram said, your mind is too cluttered. I can't really teach you. You have to go get in silence for 10 days. And I've heard about the Vipassana retreat in silence and always been like, oh, I can't imagine how intense it would be. And I was really, inspired by how you did that. But then right when I reached out to you in August and you're like, oh, well, I'll see you in September because I'm going to go in for a month of silence. And I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's like the real deal. Good for you. I know how hard that could be, like, because the mind doesn't want to do that. For me, it's like the identity is what I do and what I say. But then to realize like, oh, I'm going to receive so much more. I wanted you to share about that as well. I know we've got a lot of things we could touch on, but there are a lot of things about you that I was really inspired by, just how you're able to do this work in the world. And I know that going into silence has been a big part of that.
Yeah. Thank you, Kim. And I just want to say it's so fun to see all the people coming from all over the world. Anita from Norway, Sheena from Luxembourg, Elizabeth is coming, I don't know where from, but from Scotland, from Denver, Colorado, from Chicago, Christina, Sylvia from Toronto, Joanne from Chicago, Rita from British Columbia, Terry, Virginia, Katarina, Sweden, Carla from South Africa, Louisa, Ireland, Taylor, Miami, Rachel, UK. All these are places I visited with Dr. Naram, almost all of them at one point or another. And I saw when we showed up in a city, people coming like over 100 people coming a day with all kinds of chronic health challenges, chronic and acute health challenges. And I was shocked by sometimes how he helped them. And also one thing that I love is oftentimes it's things in your own kitchen, like just simple home remedies or points on your body that you can press, which make a big transformation. So for everyone who's listening, so many more comments coming from Texas, Divya from Baltimore. Oh, so fun. Rosalind from Greece. So everyone who's listening, I want you to start by just putting in the chat, what's the name of someone that you love, someone that you know that you love, and also someone that loves you. It can be either or. They could be alive or not alive, but I just want to see the names of people that you love. And then my question for you is, with that person that you love, do you want them to live a longer life or a healthier life, a happier life? And for me, the thing that broke through my skepticism was when someone that I love more than anywhere in the world, we got some beautiful comments. Linda says John is the person that she loves and knows that loves her. Taylor, Maya. That's so fun. I love reading these names. It fills me up. Anita Lee, Amy Aurelia. We got Heather. Beautiful. Nicole says Jet. So beautiful. So I want you to imagine a situation for those people. What if have you ever had a circumstance where someone that you love has a big problem, a challenge, and you want to help them, but you don't know how. You don't know how to get them out of that pain or that struggle or that challenge. I just know I don't know, Kim, if you've ever had this situation where you loved someone so much you wanted to help them and you didn't know how. Have you ever been in that position?
That's a big thing with, family members and as a doctor, right? Like it hits you and you're like, but then I feel powerless, right? If you're in that clinical mentality of, do I know enough? Am I enough? Where the doctor is in the hierarchy above the patient and the patient's like powerless. And then the doctor is supposed to know it. You'll tap into that and it will feel really heavy and overwhelming. So I learned early on to just meet that space in myself where I felt inadequate. I felt even the heaviness of that person's despair of my fibromyalgia, my chronic fatigue. I've seen 20 doctors. No one's helped me. Will you be able to help me? And you could feel like I don't know. And so I would transmute that and presence that and like be willing to meet myself in my own fear or pain so I can meet that person here, not in hierarchy, but in consciousness, that as I connect to the divinity in me and the power in me that is infinite, it connects them in that space for themselves. And that's really the only medicine I have. Everything else is just the cherry on top, but that's the foundation. So I know what you're speaking about, that especially when people awaken in consciousness and they're like, oh, my dad needs this. My husband needs this. Everyone else needs it, but not realizing if I just embody it more, I show up as the medicine. So yeah, it can be really heavy to be in separation and want to help someone.
It was so beautiful how you embody that, Kim. So beautiful. Yeah, it's so funny because now people see me and they know that, for instance, before the book was even published, volunteers were translating it into 27 languages, which was beyond what I ever expected. Also that my TEDx talk went to millions of people. It's just shocking me because it didn't start that way. Where it started was me being a skeptic, and I see people saying that their children. And then Meredith says, Joel, my father is who you love. And Meredith, for me as well, it was my dad, and is it okay, Kim, I just share briefly what I shared in that TEDx talk about what broke through my skepticism at the beginning?
Yes. And this is in the MindBody community in Facebook. I posted it and a lot of people have already seen it. So yeah, please.
So I'll just share in brief for those that seen it. For those that haven't, I just want you to think about what secrets are in this story that may help you in your life, So my dad, he called me on the phone one day and he said, I need to meet you in my office. And I was like, I just knew that felt strange, because I'm his kid. We can talk on the phone anytime. So I remember driving to his office and feeling like something was off, wondering if I did something wrong, But But I got to the door and he walked me slowly, and I sat in the chair in the front of his desk. He sat in the chair to the side of his desk, and he looked at the ground for what was like a long time. And you get that kind of like queasy feeling. And finally, when he looked up, he looked in my eyes and he said, actually, he didn't look in my eyes. He couldn't look straight in my eyes. He'd try and look in my eyes and kind of like move out because it was an uncomfortable space. But he's like, I haven't told your mother and I haven't told your brothers or sisters, but I don't even know if I'm going to live through the end of this week. I'm in so much pain. I was like, what's happening? My heart started beating faster. My mind was racing. I kept thinking of like, how can this, am I hearing him correctly? And if this is correct, I may only have a few days left with the person that I love most in the world. So many things, questions I never asked him, or things that I wanted to do with him that I just assumed he'd be there, So in my heart racing and my kind of like shock, I was asking him, what's happening? He said he was visiting at the time with 4 doctors who had him on 12 medications for diabetes, cholesterol, CPAP machine, sleeping pills. He was taking different kinds of pain pills, a GI cocktail. He said his mind was starting to slip, kind of going towards Alzheimer's, and first time in his life that he felt depression. And I remember he said, my body is in so much pain. This is my dad, who's always been optimistic. I don't know if your parents were like this, but usually they wouldn't tell me their problems, They always put a positive spin. First time I heard my dad ever say anything like this, he said he was in so much pain at night. He felt like someone slammed his body against the wall, so much pain that he said, sometimes I don't even know if I want to live to see the morning. So there I was, stuck in this situation where here's the person I would do anything for, and whatever else was important in my life, all the research I was doing at the university, or whatever things I was doing financially, or whatever kind of stuff, it just faded in comparison to wanting to have my dad be here on this planet and healthy. So I just met this master healer, Dr. Naram, and I just show you a picture again, but I was so skeptical I didn't take him seriously. And only in this desperate moment with my dad, I said to him, I said, I just met this master healer who can do all kinds of incredible things. And I want to take you to see him. At this moment, my dad did not look interested. He says, I've already done homeopathy, reflexology, Chinese medicine, acupuncture. He'd done everything. And he says, it helped me a little bit, but ultimately I'm still in this rut. And I'm in so much pain. I don't want to go to another healer. All I want is you to pay attention where the passwords are so your mom doesn't have to worry about it if I'm not here in the morning. So I did my best to listen. And you can imagine, any child being in this situation, any parent being in this situation, like the anxiety of that moment. And finally at the end, after I got all the passwords, I said, Dad, I don't care what you say, but for Father's Day, I'm flying you to see this healer. And so at the time, the healer was traveling all around.
A lot to ask someone to stay open when they're in that position. Like he's tried this, he tried that. And it must've been a big stretch for him to be like, homeopathy, okay, I guess. And you open because pain is a big motivator. But I think it takes courage to kind of persist at that when you're like, I've been disappointed, or this hasn't panned out. And you feel like you're on a never ending rat race of trying the next thing. And I think it took a lot of courage for him to stay open and actually fly to India, which is not the same as I got this homeopath down the street. It was a big outside of the box.
It took courage. And I think also he was trying to appease me, my anxiety, trying to say that he did everything, but he didn't think it would help him. And I didn't know it would help him. But at the time I flew him to California, 2 people on each side of him, helping him. And, to fast forward the story, my dad, he felt like he walked into the room where we saw like 50 people waiting, and we see people go in and come out in like 3 minutes. And my dad's like, I can't even read my medications in this amount of time. Why are we here, Clint? And I felt nervous. Like, am I wasting one of my dad's last days of his life on this crazy tour? So then finally it's his time. He walks in kind of hunched over, skeptical, thinking he's just appeasing me. He goes in, the door shuts, and it was like a long wait. And finally, when he comes out, he was standing straighter. He had this like look of hope in his eyes. And he said, how did he know? And he said, this man understood me more than the 4 doctors, if they were in the same room, could understand me. And fast forward, the 6 instruments that this lineage uses, so the 6 secret keys of real deeper healing that are revealed in this book that I can share with you on this call, some of them, my dad started doing them. And it's not a quick fix. It's not a quick fix. It takes time. But 6 months later, my dad was sitting in the same chair telling me he had another big problem. I'm like, what problem? He pulls out from behind his desk all the box of medication that says, now I don't know what to do with all these medications. He'd gone from 12 to 1. So no more diabetes, no more CPAP machine, no more cholesterol problem. That was where I started thinking, there's something to this. And why don't more people know it exists? You know, how come they don't know that this is an option that they can choose? So, and what I love, Kim, about you is I think you're born more wise than I was. You know, like somehow you have, your heart is more open to truths that are beyond what most people have as an option. And it took me this like critical situation to open me up to then travel for 10 years, document thousands and thousands of cases like my father, not only how people got better, but what they did, you know, and then put them in such a succinct form that people can even just go through here and find the home remedy or the Marma point or whatever. So they don't even need to meet someone at the beginning. They can actually just apply those secrets in your own home and then benefit from it.
I thought that was a great piece in the book where there's certain points on the body that you press for, like, you know, clearing the mind so you have awareness, or releasing depression, or releasing a headache. And I started using them right away. Like when I read it, I was like, let me try this over and over. And I've sent some to different people I've worked with just to try. And so that, you know, it opens up energy currents in the body to let specific kinds of energy release. When we understand the body as vibrational, it's really easy to accept something like that and play with it. But when we see the body as purely physical, we can't understand, how could that possibly work? And it's easy to be a skeptic. I think when I actually met with, and I don't think I told you this story, but I was in residency and had this really, really severe problem with urinary urgency, which is, you know, you feel like, oh my God, I have to go to pee right now. And it was a really, really severe burning. And I was a second-year resident it was on trauma. That's your whole second year, is all, you're the one on the trauma and critical care medicine in the ER. And so the urgency, literally urgency, you're like, hey, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta save this life, I gotta do this thing. I was experiencing this severe urinary urgency, and no one for months could figure out what was going on and what to do. There was no urinary tract infection. There was nothing going on medically. And it would, you know, come and go and be really severe. And someone told me, well, there's this group of these Indian doctors that come to Atlanta over and over, and they're coming next week, and you could go see this guy and get an appointment. And I think this could help you. And I did. And the person put his hand on my pulse and I know it has to be the group with Dr. Naram. I knew this later. When I read the book, I was like, that's who I saw. And he literally put his hand on my wrist and said, these are the 3 things going on. You have this, you have this, you have this. And he described my exact symptoms in such a way. And you talked in the book about Naram saying what they need is to be understood. What the patient needs most is to be understood. And in that moment, I started crying out of didn't realize how desperate I felt. I felt so understood. And I know that's how the healing process begins. And he prescribed these herbs, and it was a little complicated. Like some of them were 3 times a day, some of them were 2 times a day. And I was a resident. So I put them in these little baggies, all lined up, and I'd take them with me every day and put the alarm would go off. I'd take my herbs, and I got better like almost immediately. And it never returned. And so years later, I'm reading the book and learning about the pulse reading. And when I saw Dr. Smita, which we'll share a link here so people can, if they would like to receive care and get an appointment, it's really easy to do. It's only like $15 to $50. It's a really inexpensive investment. When I saw her, it was the same thing. She looked at me and immediately called out this was going on in my body, because it's a different way of presencing the patient and reading and understanding the body. So that it was an amazing experience to feel so understood.
Wow, so beautiful.
You can't describe it.
Yeah. One thing lately, since my 30 days of silence, I've been calling this contagious healing, you know, because so much of the world right now is afraid of what's contagious and staying away from people and wearing these masks and, but actually this is contagious healing. Like even just 2 or 3 days ago on my sister's Facebook page, that story you mentioned where, there's actually a really amazing case of an autistic girl, ADD, ADHD, moving all over the place. And I don't even know this person, but she just read in the book about what to do, what points to press. And as a result of that, her son is doing all his schoolwork at home online. He didn't want to do any of his schoolwork. His mind was going here, 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 here. And she's like, I just read that story. Why don't I try this with my son? He's not autistic or anything, and she did. She pressed all those points on his body. He calmed down so much. He did the whole school day so well. She's like, wow, this is amazing. And then as
we underestimate the body's ability to heal itself.
Yeah. And then what happens is when people see that
mental, emotional, cognitive, that's all part of it.
Yeah. And what I love is when people see it happen, other people say, tell me about that. And so that's why I call it contagious healing. Like even my as I'm hosting this group called a Miracle Experiment Game, the Global Healing Miracle Experiment, where people are just applying 3 secrets from this book. And one of them is there's a recipe for mung soup that we can give everyone as a gift. If it's okay with you, Kim, I'm happy to give everyone this.
Yes. I just made it the other day and I brought it for lunch today with my friends.
Yeah. And from this simple recipe for a delicious food, this girl in Brazil named Luisa, she started doing this. And then there's a home remedy in this book of the certain ingredients you mix whenever you have joint pain. She had stage 4 ligament and knee cartilage damage. She has so much pain. She was walking in a young person, very beautiful person, but she started taking this remedy. And then she was surprised after 2-3 weeks, her pain went away. She went to the doctor. He's like, what happened? It went from stage 4 to stage 2. So she told this story. My mom was listening on the phone. My mom was listening. And she was so excited about this happening for someone else. Even she read the book. She loves the book. She loves me, but she never did it until she heard this story. She's like, wait, I have knee pain. So she started taking this mung soup detox, this special process or procedure we do. After 3 days, she was so happy because before she would have to drive to the neighbor's house because they're thinking about driving because her knee pain is so bad, getting out of bed and falling back in bed, going downstairs, like taking a long time holding the railing. For her, after only 3 days, she's walking to the neighbors. She's like, well, my knee pain is gone. I saw her just a few days ago where she was just going up and down the stairs so fast. And to see this, she goes to the grocery store or at the club or wherever, and she's like telling everyone, oh, you have this pain? You need to do this. So that's why I call it contagious healing. She's enrolled about 20 people, in the last just week, just because they see, wow, she looks younger. She has more energy. Her pain is gone. So I call it contagious healing is possible. When you help yourself, you say, okay, I have a skepticism about this, no problem, but I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to try an experiment. And when people see what happens in you in terms of energy, health, actually, Kim, I'll let you share anything you want to, but there's one more story I want to share before we end, or however long we have,
Yep.
You want me to share now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So this concept of bringing your skeptic came from my friend whose name is Mike Smith. I've known him for 10 years. He does amazing work, but a really sad situation happened only two months ago. His brother, who is only 52 years old, died of a heart failure, heart situation, and left behind 6 kids. And I remember when I saw the post from Mike, my heart went out to him, and I was feeling what an unfortunate situation that this dad of 6 kids just left so quickly, So after that, Mike said a lot of his family took blood tests to find out their situation. His cholesterol was so high, in the danger zone. His LDL was high. His inflammation markers were, in the border range of, dangerous. And he says, okay, this is convincing me. I'm going to try what Clint has said, So he just decided you just posted the link. He clicked on that link.
So if people do want to schedule one of these doctors who's been trained in this art, they have that available.
Yeah. So he clicked on the link, booked his appointment, and started doing a 30-day diet of mung, this thing called mung soup. Many of you probably know, but I didn't know beforehand. It's this beautiful, it's kind of like a lentil, a green whole. he did this. He just got his blood test back a couple weeks ago, and he was shocked. His doctor was shocked. His cholesterol had dropped by 47%. His LDL had dropped by almost 50%. His inflammation marker dropped by more than 70%. In fact, they wanted to retest him to make sure they didn't mix up his blood with like a 13-year-old girl or something like that, because they didn't know how this was possible. And Mike told him it's the ancient secrets of a master healer. And actually now his doctor wants to get on the program because he also has high cholesterol and doesn't want to take the medication. So what I love is Mike has then convinced so many of his family that are at risk. He has now 20 family members on this, on this simple program. And you can either take a pill that has side effects or eat a delicious food that makes all of you feel better. His picture, he lost 30 pounds. He lost 30 pounds, and now he looks, honestly, 10, 15 years younger. His brother-in-law started on it, also lost about 30 pounds. He was in the military or armed forces or services or something like that. He said he'd get up with so much back pain in the morning, he'd have to sit there for 15 minutes kind of figuring out. After just about 2 weeks, his pain went away. His wife says he never complained about the pain, but now he can't stop talking about how there's no pain. And so, I don't know, it's just it's funny how it's contagious. It's kind of healing. So why not, in this world in which people are coming from fear, not wanting to associate with others because they don't know where the danger is, why not do something where you can come from a space of power and know that your health is in your own hands, you know? And not only it can help you, but it can help all those that you love because they see this change that happens in you.
Well, also, the piece that was most remarkable to me is how this isn't something that just reverses your symptoms or like, you know, heals physically, but you can see that it increases your frequency. So it actually allows people to be more alive and more vibrant and more joyful and more insightful and more connected with love. Like, what's the quality of life if I just, make your symptoms go away, but you still feel flat and miserable, just like you've always felt. Now you actually have a bigger problem, because before you could blame it on your symptoms, and now you're like, oh no, I can't do that. This is real. I think one of the most important things is that it does actually increase the frequency and consciousness of yourself. And when I heard on one of the group calls you had a couple of weeks ago, people's stories, they weren't just healing physically. They were coming into a whole new consciousness of awareness and forgiveness and love and fulfillment. So that was why this really stood out to me. Sylvia says, is the program soup that Dr. Rogers is talking about in the book? Yes, this is the soup in the program that he's talking about in the book. And I think it's cool. There's like 6 limbs of this. And I want to talk about your silent retreat and how like that one piece is one of the limbs. It's not just like physical. So the herbs and healing the body, the changing the diet. For me, I just did the herbs, and like I started with the ghee, and my husband's like, you smell bad. We can't do this. So I just rub it on the bottom of my feet. I don't put it on my head anymore, but I do the herbs every single morning, every evening. And then there's some teas actually that I've made that were the recipes for that. I do that every day. My diet is already pretty basic, and I really didn't even mess around with that, because to me, it felt really like a lot of upheaval to try to do all of this at once, and really too much of stress. And I was like, you know what, Kim, just do this piece and receive this, and the rest of it alone, because being in your serenity is the most important thing. And so I didn't even really look into that part, what was like prescribed, too much. And I feel amazing. and Smita, who's Dr. Naram's wife, so Dr. Naram died right toward the end of when you were publishing the book, which I think is just an amazing way that he was like, I'm complete. It's been taken to another level, so more people will live this legacy. It will be carried on. And for whatever reason, he was complete. That just was such a synchronicity. So Smita, who's his amazing, beautiful wife, who's also a doctor, was the one that I saw. And she really, I feel so seen. And I think in the diagnosis as a doctor, that's the most important part. The treatment is so secondary, that if you're not present enough, that you can actually really nail it on the diagnosis of, I totally see you. Then you got nothing. And that's really what she did. And that's my work is in meeting people in that space on a deep, deep, deep level of exactly what's going on, and meeting them in that energy so that it transmutes. But all the tools in the world, the mind body tools are nothing. It's how can we meet you in that space of the depth that's looking to be met? That's where the magic happens. So will you share a little bit what it was like for you? Because I know Naram's education consisted of like, no, you got to be more present. It wasn't just, I want to show up so you'll teach me the secrets. They're like, go clean the bathroom. And he's like, oh, I'll clean the bathroom so that now you'll do the real thing and teach me the real thing because I want to learn the secrets. They're like, no, you got to learn to clean the bathroom for the purpose of cleaning the bathroom and being that present in your life and in your now, that this is the only moment that really matters. That was the number one thing I got out of the book, and that changed my life.
Oh, Kim, when you're talking, I'm feeling like I feel chills, and I had several waves of emotion because I feel like you're coming from such a beautiful place of seeing seeing stuff that most people don't see, because most people will see the home remedy or they'll see the physical aspects of what's happening, but there is a lot happening behind the scenes. And it took a while because I was a scientist and a researcher. I wanted to figure out everything with my brain, with my mind, and so to kind of go beyond mind or just come from your heart in a way that you can get stuff and help people. So there's two aspects. There's one is our personal lives. And, you had mentioned there's lots of different elements of this. So one is the soup. That beautiful person was asking, so is the soup in the program, Sylvia, in the book? Yeah. But there's so many other aspects of it that are possible. Alina says, can I access this from South Africa? You can access it from anywhere in the world, actually. Joe, thank you for saying that. And then will this help fibromyalgia? Yeah, beautiful. This can help with basically whatever. It's a different way of looking at the body, mind, emotions, and spirit. In the West, we break things into its part and we say you have fibromyalgia. But in this ancient healing system, the diagnosis, it says, what is the core imbalance and the blocks in your system? And when you fix that imbalance of the elements inside of your system and clean up some of the blocks, then your body will heal of anything. Your body is actually the healing machine. It's an amazing healing machine. And so you support it through just certain wisdom. An analogy I give is, imagine you have a car. So you get the most expensive car, a Ferrari or Lamborghini or whatever, Maserati or whatever is your favorite car. But instead of putting, and then something, you see this check engine light, check engine. So you go to a mechanic and he looks in the hood and he's like, oh, this hose busted. So he fixes the hose. But then sometimes the mechanic will break something else, or just by fixing the hose, you didn't figure out where's the pressure coming that broke the hose. So then you go to another mechanic and he fixes another part. You go to another mechanic, fixes another part. Finally, you go to someone like Dr. Naram or Dr. Smita or any of these practitioners, and they're like, actually, what is the fuel that you're putting in your car? And you're like, oh, no one asked me that. So in my Ferrari, I'm putting like 80% gasoline, but I put 20%, it's yogurt, cookies, cake, or whatever. Then it's like, oh, no wonder your car keeps breaking. Your car isn't going to last as long, or it's not going to run as well, depending on what's the fuel you're putting into it. And same thing with your body. Your body's an amazing thing, but we never were taught what fuel do you put in it. And so these herbs is very powerful. The home remedy, speaking about my mom, first time I gave her a home remedy, she ate it and she's like, oh, this tastes like dirt. But that's why she's so happy. Some of the more recent home remedies I've given her, she's like, soup, it's delicious, or she had a situation, talking about learning this. She had a situation just a couple of days ago where she had this blind spot, like she was working on the computer and then like kind of a sunspot and she couldn't see. And so I said to her, would you want to do a remedy? And it was like a half a teaspoon of ghee and then like a quarter teaspoon of sugar. And I just mixed it and she took it. She's like, oh, this one tastes like caramel. I was like, it's fun when it tastes good. It took 2 doses and then the problem totally went away and she could drive to school and do everything she needed to. But it empowers you. When you know these simple remedies, you have a choice. And then Kim, one thing I just wanted to say real quick, you talked about sometimes it's not just about physical, but one thing I loved about this lineage of healers is they understood that it's not just the food you put in your body, but it's the thoughts you put in your mind or the emotions. This master healer, Jivaka, understood that anything is a medicine or poison depending on how you use it. Anything. So even your work can be a poison or a medicine depending if it's aligned with your life's purpose. Is what you're doing every day, the people you're associating with, the activities you're engaging, the conversations that you're having, the thoughts that you're feeding yourself,
Everything.
is it nourishing you or is it a poison for you? And when you learn that, then it's not just about being healthy, but in the book, Dr. Ram says one of the greatest secrets from his master, he says 95% of people on the planet don't know what they want. They just don't know. So they try this husband, this wife, that wife, this job, that job. They're window shopping. 3% of people know what they want, but they never achieve it because they don't know how. 1% of people, they know what they want and they achieve it, but they can't enjoy it because in the process, they get this heart problem, back problem, relationship problem. With Dr. Ram, I met so many billionaires, millionaires, movie stars, celebrities, heads of state, but it's amazing. You'd think they'd be happy because they reached the pinnacle, but no, they're not enjoying it. 1% of people, he says, they know what they want. They discover that. They achieve it and they enjoy it because they did it in a non-toxic way. And that's what I love about this Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer is your physical ailment is usually a teacher saying there's something out of alignment. And not only it helps you get rid of that physical ailment, but then you can align your life with more why you're here. What's your purpose? What do you want on this planet? So, wow.
What do you truly want? Well, which brings back to what the thing I wanted to go into about the month of stillness, or even just 10 days of stillness or 10 minutes of stillness. We can't know this. We can't know what we want until we look. And we can't really receive that until we're still enough to hear it. So what was it like for you? And I do want to look at people are saying, can we use this if I'm pregnant? Does this help with Lyme disease and mold, secondary co-infection? I know the answer, but if you want to speak to that before we go.
I love these questions. So first of all, Divya, can we practice during pregnancy? I saw where Dr. Ram, when you do practice during pregnancy, first of all, you have a healthier pregnancy. Second of all, the characteristics of the baby, is it a calm baby? Is it an intelligent baby? You can have some influence over that based upon what you're nourishing yourself, what herbs you're taking. So I saw Dr. Ram say, what kind of baby do you want to have? I remember I was in USA. Well, actually, I think I was in Germany one time. He says, what kind of baby do you want to have? Do you want to have a Gandhi or a George Bush baby? This is the time George Bush was president. And the person said, George Bush. And the German practitioner who was with Dr. Ram says, no, you want a Gandhi baby. And she said, no, Gandhi got killed, but George Bush lived. And so Dr. Ram says it's about what she wants, not about what you want. Anyway, so then he asked, what characteristics? I want the person to be intelligent. You could actually have it so with your pregnancy, instead of having as much postpartum depression or challenges, you actually recover quicker. And so when you schedule the appointment with Dr. Smith or another doctor, you can ask, how can I have the healthiest pregnancy and after pregnancy? So the milk that you're giving or the nourishment you're giving is healthy. So that's a very powerful ancient secrets, how to have a very healthy baby and healthy pregnancy. Lyme's disease, I've interviewed several people, and I can send you their stories. You can even talk to them, who shared powerful stories of overcoming almost virtually all the symptoms of Lyme disease. So many things like this, I've seen. And one of the things that's especially pertinent now is there's a remedy in the back of the book that's how to boost your immune system, so you can not worry about getting so many types of viruses or sicknesses. And it's a really powerful, simple one. Even with my mom the other day, she was starting to get sick. She works with kids that have multiple disabilities. And so she was starting to get a little sick, a little bit, when you're on the edge of getting sick. So I just made this tea for her that's here in this book. And she took it and I took it with her. And after the next day, she's like, yeah, I don't have a problem. And so I just gave it to her 2 or 3 times over the next couple of days. It's powerful. So instead of getting sick, what if you can catch it beforehand? So it helps on so many levels. Okay, you're asking about silence.
Yeah, I want to know what about you and having gone through this journey. And obviously you're like, this isn't what I thought I signed up for, but I want to go in this direction. What was it like for you to go through this journey to become who you are now, to choose to do a month of silence? What was it like and what's it created?
Such a good question, Kim. Wow. I'm just feeling that. And, I think I was more stubborn than most people and probably took a longer time to get it. I had to see literally hundreds of cases of people telling me no one else is there. They're not getting paid to share their story. They're just sharing their story. But I kept thinking this is placebo or something, but then it helps babies, it helps animals. So how is it placebo? It helps the girl in a coma. Is she believing she's getting better? So then my mind started opening up. When I started, even in my 30 days of silence, this last 30 days of silence, I thought a lot about Dr. Ram and the gift of having him in my life, and being so close to him for over 10 years. And I thought, one of the greatest gifts he gave me is he changed forever my perception of what's possible. At the beginning of the call, you talked about this a little bit, but when you know something's possible, then no one can convince you otherwise because you've seen it, you've experienced it, you know it. And even like I came out of the silence and I remember hearing a conversation that someone said they had with their doctor where the doctor said, "This is not curable." And I remember my first instinct was to laugh. I just had to laugh because I thought, what a remarkable world we live in, that someone in a place of authority can believe that enough to share it with someone else. I don't know if you've heard of nocebo effect, Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the opposite of placebo. You can convince someone that something's not curable, and then they believe it enough that they, have those situations. Now, this person didn't believe it either, and then ended up finding a solution. But I think the most honest thing doctors can say is, I don't know a solution. But it's ridiculous to say there is no solution, because according to Dr. Ram, every single problem on this planet has a solution. In fact, whatever challenge, problem, heartache, situation you have has within it the seeds of equal or greater benefit, according to Dr. Ram. I'm going to repeat that one more time because it's so powerful. And in this silence, I saw that more. Whatever challenge you're facing, whatever heartache, whatever stress or challenge has within it the seeds of equal or greater benefit. In the silence, it's a crazy experience. I highly recommend for everyone. It was so deeply healing for me. Like Kim mentioned that Dr. Ram, he told me that my mind was too crowded and I couldn't help him. I was like, well, what do I do? And he sent me for my first silence. I didn't know how much healing I needed, but my mind was so tightly wound with whatever I thought I needed to be, whatever I thought life was about. And only in the silence I saw that most of the games I was playing were just things invented by other people. Like I have a PhD and I'm a scientist and a researcher, but that's a game invented by other humans. They invented the concept called a university, and you play this game. Or money is just an invention made up by people. And I saw that so many of the systems that we're in are just made up by other humans. So what I love about this situation of COVID and everyone being at home is it interrupts the pattern. And then we have a real opportunity to say, well, I don't want to go back to all of what I thought was normal because some of that's not healthy. So we can pick and choose. We have so much more ability to say, what, as a creator of my life or a co-creator of my life, what do I want to choose to do from now on that's healthier for myself and those that I love? In this last silence, I saw, wow, so many things were still controlling me that I didn't realize. Like as I paused and the thoughts became more separate, I could see the driving thing behind the thoughts. For me, I saw that so much of my motivating factor that sponsored a thought was wanting to avoid feeling guilty, and God bless that, because I didn't want to feel guilty not helping my father. So then I did everything I could to help him, but now I want to choose something else. I want to choose a different thing that's going to sponsor different thoughts, And so the gift of the silence is it helps you see who you really are, not who you've been programmed by your family or society or school or media to think that you are. It gives you enough space that you can really decide, who am I really? And what am I born here to do? And it is the most powerful thing. I highly recommend for everyone. Even Vipassana, you can go for free. You just go for 10 days. Your housing is free. Food is free. You just go. Wow. And if you feel like you want to, you can contribute at the end. But it's really, really, really powerful. Yeah.
Well, I've done my own version where I take an hour a day, every day since when I first started reading the book. I think right in the space when he was talking about presence, and I mean, it hit me between the eyes because I've already known that that's the important thing, and that I'm aware I'm not fully present to the degree I could be. So along with some other things I was doing, it really encouraged me to, there's nothing more important than you being with you. And that every day I would take an hour of time in stillness with myself. And I've done it. So I decided to do 100 days because there's this sort of outline of that from someone I really respected, who I knew embodied himself so beautifully. And I said, I'm doing this. And, I think I'm somewhere around day 60 something. I'm not counting, but I have the end date on there. I'll probably just continue after that because it's created so much in my life to connect with myself more and more and more fully. The only thing that can be lacking in your life is more of you showing up. So it's not about medicine. It's not about a healer. It's not about all these external things until you meet that internal thing. What you're searching is who you are already. So,
oh, it's so beautifully said. Actually, I call this book a love story because it was love for my father. One of the reasons it was love for my father that pushed me beyond what I thought was logical or possible in this world now that I see all these healing things possible. People call them a miracle, but it's based on a science, But I also call it a love story because people who read it, you fall more in love with yourself. I've one of the things that makes me so happy is people that have, even been struggling with, do I want to live on this planet anymore? They read this book, and one woman from Slovenia talked about how for the first 100 pages, she was just in tears. And by the end of the book, she says, I don't have a health problem, but I realize no matter what problem I have, there's a solution. She fell more in love with herself. And the way that she's been taking care of herself has been so beautiful. So even Satina, I know I don't know, Red Dog, I don't know your name, but you're saying Satina, my wife, is having such a terrible time sleeping. It's been going on for years and nothing has helped. Herbs, medicine, acupuncture, please excuse my spelling. She's been listening to you. So first of all, Satina, I want to say you have a husband that loves you. What a gift, for him to make sure that during this sacred space we have, that your situation is seen is awesome. And then I want to say that I believe, Satina, there is a solution. And I've seen Dr. Am help people that literally haven't slept for 10 years, 20 years, at all, which is crazy for me to think. He helped them remove the block that was creating that. Sometimes it's mental, sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's spiritual. But through this ancient science, you can find out where is the block, where's the imbalance. And it's not a quick fix, but over time you'll start to say, wow, I start to feel better. My mind is more calm. And even for anyone who wants to sleep better, I can give one quick remedy. You take some ghee. This is also in the book. This remedy is in the book, but you take ghee. It's clarified butter. You take ghee and you can put it here on your temples and you rub 6 times like this. You take some ghee, you can put it right on the top of your head. You can also put it in your navel or in the bottom of your feet. And then you go like this. You put both fingers down like this and go like this with both hands. Let's see if I can show. And then you just breathe deeply and you just calm yourself down. You can do it several times, but you do it right before you go to sleep. It helps people have very, very, very pleasant, deep sleep, And then there's also some herbs. There's some diet. There's some food where if you stop eating and some food you start eating, it helps so much for your mind and your whole system to calm down enough that then you can drift into the subconscious of sleep. So, and that's in there. And also if you want to, you can book an appointment. Someone can walk you through specifically what you can do, Satina. But I just want to say in this moment, I don't think there's an accident you're listening now. And for everyone that's here, that's listening, I don't think there's an accident you're listening. And I think it's exciting because we have an opportunity, first of all, to listen and apply it, do an experiment on yourself. And then when you see your life change, you can help those you love in such a deep way. And that's what I've noticed for myself. And then for those that I love the most, I don't know I think we're way over time. I was going to share a story about my sister, but maybe we'll save that for next time.
And I'm going to share the link again. It's bit.ly. It's a bit.ly link. So you do bit.ly and then it's Dr. Naram, N-A-R-A-M. Sorry, D-R-N-A-R-A-M. So bit.ly, which is bit.ly / Dr. Naram, N-A-R-A-M, for those of you listening to the podcast. But I will make sure this is available on the post of this on my website. So you have that link to go make an appointment. Yes.
Oh, super.
Do you want to leave us with any last thoughts for the community? And I think like, and just in our connection, we're all connected together. So the fact that you're on the planet doing this now, as opposed to what you would have been doing way back then, is such a contribution. Do you have any last pieces to assist people in connecting with you?
Well, I want to thank you, Kim. I see Sarai says, I'm very grateful you being here today. I'm so grateful you're here. Gandhi, he actually said that he believes that we're all interconnected. And he says, anytime one person suffers, all of us suffer to that same extent. And anytime one person benefits, all of us benefit to that same extent. And Sarai, by you coming here and listening and benefiting from this, you not only help me and all those that you love, but we're all interconnected. And so I think as you start to love yourself more, sometimes it's easier. Like it was easier for me to do something to help my dad than to help myself,
Yeah.
A lot of people who are attracted to calls like this, you'll do anything for those you love, but you're the last person to take care of yourself. And so what I want to encourage you is to be gentle with yourself, during this chaotic, time in which so many things are shifting, so many systems are crumbling, other things are being born. There's an analogy where if you see a pregnant woman, you don't know what pregnancy is. You don't know how childbirth happens. But you walk past this pregnant woman who's giving birth on the street. You see this blood, this water, she's screaming. You think something horrible is happening. You think this cannot be healthy. This is crazy. This is a horrible situation. But in reality, she's giving birth. And this is the process. And so whatever is your challenge in your life, and whatever challenge we're facing as a community of humans on this planet, something new is being born, and you can be a part of that. And the biggest way you can contribute, I believe, is by loving yourself more. Really being gentle with yourself, taking care of yourself, nourishing yourself, doing those things that nourish you, like joining this call with Kim or eating certain foods. So from my heart to your heart, I'd say, it's so beautiful. Red Dog, again, I don't know your name, but she said she's crying while listening to you. So for everyone, whether it's Sleep, Satina, for anyone who's listening, just love yourself. Be gentle with yourself. It's a process that we're in. It's not a quick fix. But if you want to heal yourself deeper and deeper, then it's about really taking time to do those things that will nourish you. And you can do it as an experiment. And then just see. You can always go back to the old way if you don't like it. But why not try something for long enough that you give yourself a chance to feel a new normal, a much healthier, happier normal.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was beautiful. I know there was, a few people have asked, should I make an appointment or read the book? And I was thinking, read the book because and do both if you like, if they resonate, but reading the book will transmute a lot of energy in your consciousness, that alone. And there are a lot of pieces and little nuggets that you could take that may really open you up to so much more. And then if there's the clarity of like, yeah, I'm totally going to do this, make the appointment. But you could start probably on either one. What would you say, Clint?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I would say, just because what I've seen happens, because sometimes it requires a shift, not only in your mind, but in your heart. Yes. And the book takes you on a journey in which a lot of the healing happens. Just by the time you get to the end of it, one of my friends that had the book said that his neighbor stole it from him. And I was like, stole it? I was like, can I get your neighbor's phone number? And I asked him, I was like, why did you steal this book? And he was like a little shy to talk to me, but then excited. He's like, well, I'm an engineer. I've never read a book since college. And normally I don't believe in this stuff. But he's like, chapter by chapter, unlocked a different part of my mind and my heart. Till by the end of it, I said, his wife is in a critical illness that no one's been able to solve. He says, even if my wife doesn't do this, my children rely on me and my wife relies on me so I can have better health. So he started doing it. And then I said, but how come you haven't given the book back? He's like, maybe I should give it back, but I'm never going to. I was like, why? He says, because now I want to read a chapter to my wife every night until she believes like I do. And I was like, wow, what a love, what a real love. And when people do that, then you have more confidence that when you set up the appointment with the doctor, like Richard, he's such a cool person on this call. He read the book and he's like, this is amazing. set up an appointment. Then you can get personalized care if you want to, or you can just start doing what's in the book and see the results.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people on this call, you want to learn deeper. You want to become a healer. And so for the first time ever, we're starting a course where 3 kinds of people who are doctors that want to apply it to their practice, people that want to become practitioners, or maybe you don't want to become a practitioner. You just want to know how to help yourself and your family. We're starting a course. And so if you're interested in that, you can come to myancientsecrets.com, enter your information. You can join the miracle experiment game. Joining with a community of people doing it sometimes helps you, because hearing all their stories, you're like, oh, it's not, Clint is maybe too far in front of me, or Kim is maybe too far out there. But you hear people that just started in like three days or 1 week, they see results. And something about hearing those stories over and over again, it surrounds you in this cocoon of possibility that you're like, why don't I do this? It's so easy. It's way easier to do this than feeling ill or being sick, So, and it's so simple when you frame it in those terms. So all those things are possibilities that are open to you. Also, if you want to contact me, there's different times where I have availability. And I'm so grateful, Kim. I just want to say in conclusion, for you holding the space you do. And for, when she contacted me, she's like, we need to get this out in the world because people need to know this is possible. And it's a way in which they can heal deeper. And I feel so much joy in that, because it's beyond any of us. I'm a small little cog in the big wheel of possibility that's churning. And the more of us that get involved, the better the world becomes, because we are connected.
Well, thank you. Let's just give your site out loud, because we did put it in the comments, but it's myancientsecrets.com. So for those of you listening to the podcast, you're welcome to go there and connect with Clint. The book is Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer. And we've shared a couple of links here where you can go further. So much love to everyone. I love everyone in this community. Thank you for joining. If you're in YouTube, you can subscribe there if you'd like to connect further. We're here every week at 11 a.m. Mountain Time on Wednesdays. I'm at drkimd.com. And I'm so grateful we're all co-creating this moment of letting this be born in the world and letting this work get into a bigger space for more people to have the message that you're light, you're beautiful, and all things are possible. All right, lots of love. Bye, Clint. Bye, everybody.
Love you. I'm with you.